Hello, sir. Your name is?
I'm Doug Brown. I live in Burlington, and I'm campaigning for the NDP candidate in Burlington, David Laird. We're absolutely opposed to the war in Afghanistan. It's gone on almost twice as long as the Second World War. The Liberals and Conservatives seem to want us to stay there indefinitely. Parliament had agreed to bring our troops home by this year, and that's
all of them home? All of them?
Yeah, absolutely. They did a 180-degree turn on that. They made an agreement between the Liberals and Conservatives to overturn Parliament's earlier decision to bring them home. So we feel that Afghanistan is an important election issue, and the NDP is very clear that we would bring the troops home from Afghanistan.
So what is the real reason for the war?
Well, that's a good question. You know, there's been unfortunately a history of Western intervention and also Russian intervention in the region. The Afghan people have been through a lot. Back in the late 70s, they had a stable government. It was destabilized by jihadists who were sponsored by the CIA. The Russians moved in. They had a long, horrible civil war. The Russians were driven out, and there's been a low-level civil war until 2001, when once again we had the Americans and their allies moved in to take control and install a government.
What is your intake on income tax? Are you aware that income tax came into existence during World War I?
Yes.
And they promised it would be abolished, and it still hasn't been abolished, and there's no real law indicating that we even have to pay income tax. What do you think of that? Do you think that Canadians should have to pay income tax?
Yes. Yes, we need to fund our public programs, our public services, and income tax is a fair way of doing that as long as it's proportional. Poor people should not be paying income tax, but the wealthy should be paying a lot more.
Yeah. Have you heard of the New World Order? Proposed by George H.W. Bush, September 11th, 1991 at the United Nations?
Yes, I have.
Are you aware that their main goal is admittedly to have a global government, one world currency?
Well, there's a lot of disturbing things. I recommend people go to the website where they basically spell out their agenda.
The United Nations website?
No, if you go to the New World Order, you just Google it, it comes right up, and you find Wolfowitz and Bush and Cheney and company are pretty clear about where they want to go. They want American hegemony, really. They don't want any place in the world that's not under their influence or control.
What about the Security and Prosperity Partnership striving towards a North American Union with the Amero? Have you heard of this?
Yes.
And are you guys against this?
Actually, I've heard of this, and personally I'm against it. I don't know if the party has an explicit policy on this, but I know that
the NDP party.
Yeah, I haven't explored that part of their program.
I'm glad that you're against that, because that's a loss of Canadian sovereignty as a nation right there.
Yeah.
I do have this one question. Have you heard Canada is actually a corporation? Canada with all capital letters. Central index key 00002980032. Business address is 174 Massachusetts Avenue Northwest, Washington, D.C. Listed under the U.S. Security Exchange Commission. Have you heard of this?
No.
No? I suggest you Google that, because that's a factual truth right there. And by saying that, I have a suspicion that Canada is not what it seems to be, as they portrayed it to want it to be, as the government want it to be portrayed. For it is a corporation, is it not?
No, Canada is not a corporation. There might be a corporation of that name, but Canada is a country.
I I totally agree. Canada is a country, but there is a legal system where things legally, fictionally exist in all capital letters named Canada, and I don't understand why it would be listed under the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission.
I don't know either, but Canada's not a corporation.
Okay. And everything, the NDP's against the war.
Yes.
Totally want them all out of there, right?
Yes. Yeah, well, we can be in there with aid, but we cannot be in there as a combatant or as a trainer of combatants.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you, sir, for your time.
Okay, thank you.
From Iraq to Palestine!
I got it.
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime.
From Afghanistan to Palestine!
From Afghanistan to Palestine.
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime.
From Kandahar to Palestine!
Canada to Palestine.
Occupation is a crime!
Occupation is a crime.
From Iraq to Palestine! 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your racist war.
1, 2, 3, 4. We don't want your racist war.
5, 6, 7, 8. Stop the torture. Stop the hate.
5, 6, 7, 8. Stop the torture. Stop the hate.
Justice for Gaza.
Justice for Gaza.
Justice for Palestine.
Justice for Palestine.
Justice for Gaza.
Justice for Gaza.
Who is the terrorist? Harper is the terrorist. Who is the terrorist?
Harper is the terrorist.
Who is the terrorist? Who is the terrorist? Harper, warmonger, Prime Minister, no longer.
Harper.
Prime Minister, no longer.
Are we supposed to be here? I don't know.
There are over 600 billion small arms that are in circulation around the world. That means one for every 10 people. And I say shame.
What government do you love?
I find it helpful to know that we are not alone in seeking peace when we are surrounded by what seem to be illogical.
So how come you wouldn't want to take in full, the government doesn't want you to know?
It's good to know
rather
that there
stay
are folks
asleep?
like you who are seeking peace when right here in our
There's a lot of different stuffs on there. Truth about tap water, truth about there's a new law that passed. It's called the Consumer Product Safety Act. It's unconstitutional. There's a video about that. Secrets about law on how tickets and parking tickets are fraud. You can discharge them.
Taken from aircraft. And you dig a little deeper and their slogan reads like this. Controlling the battle space from every altitude. And I
They think the government loves them. Come on.
Let our voices be heard through this rally here today, through our votes at the polls.